This is a special report. I'm not going to follow my normal format because something very important happened today that you need to know about. I'm going to be focusing on these two stories that were on my news site today. 10 million Americans have filed for unemployment in the past 2 weeks. U.S. weekly jobless claims total 6.6 million versus 3.1 expected. And this is so important. It is basically the whole thing that this video is wrapped around. This is initial jobless claims, so filing for unemployment. And the amount of spike, it has gone up this week. 6,648,000 people filed for unemployment. And that last week it was 3 million or something. This is the percent change from 1 year ago. And each one of these is the percent change from the previous year. So you can see nothing in history, nothing in human history has ever happened like this. This is an enormous event. It has enormous implications. Every one of these people that go on unemployment are not going to be paying income tax. Tax revenues are going to go down. Deficit spending is going to go up. This is really going to affect everybody's life. But this is the change, percent change from a year ago, and that percent is 3,051% increase. And like I said, each one of these data points is the percent change from the previous year and from the previous year. So normally it should be down in this range. This is something historic. Nothing like this has ever happened. This is continued claims. So we've had the number, the percent change. Now we've got continued claims. So the data that you've already seen is not in here yet. It won't be in here until next week, because these are the people that have continued their unemployment for at least a week. And so what you see here is that from this trough, I want you to look at the angle of this slope. And then this is last week, and next week isn't on there yet. So from April 06 to May of 09, which is this trough is April of 06, May of 09 is the peak here. And that took more than 3 years. It was 3 years and 1 month, 37 months. This is last week. This week is going to get stacked on top of it, and it's 6.6 million people. And so it takes us up to almost 10 million. Let me show you what that looks like in the next graph. That was, this is in 1 week. The second week is coming. And the second week, you're talking about 6.6 million people. So you got to take the distance from the bottom of this graph up to here, and then add that. In fact, the peak in 2009, the peak of everybody unemployed, not the people that were filing just that week, but everybody that was on unemployment insurance, and I can't remember how many weeks it lasts, but they extended it back in the crisis of 08. They extended the number of weeks. I don't know if they ever contracted that again, but it was extended quite a bit. So you're talking about the accumulation of months and months and months of people filing for unemployment adds up to this total number. And what you see here is that at the peak in 2009, it was 6,635,000 people. Today, this is continued. So this is last week. Today, or this past week, and the data always ends. The Federal Reserve data I believe comes from the Bureau of Labor Statistics or the Department of Labor. That data is compiled on Saturday for the previous week. So this is of last Saturday. And last week, there were 6,648,000 people. So that's 6,648,000 people. And that is 13,000 people more than the entire peak of all the accumulated continuous claims, all the people that were on unemployment. We've added a greater amount than that. So take the distance from zero here, the bottom of this chart, to this, and take that amount of distance and add it to this for next week, and it's way off the top of the charts. Nothing like this has happened in the history of the United States. And I don't think, this is something, I don't think it's ever happened anywhere in human history. So I want to take you to the 2019 Economic Freedom of the World report. This is very important. And what they do is they measure 162 different countries. There's 162 countries that produce reliable economic data. And so they collect that data and they put it in a spreadsheet and they hit sort. And one of the interesting things is they divide it between these quartiles of the most free, the second quartile, the third quartile, and the least free people in the world, these economies. And what they discover is that the more economic freedom that you have, the more capitalistic a society is, and the less rules and regulations that we've got, the greater the income, the more prosperous those people are. In fact, we make 6 times more in the most free countries, and this includes the top quartile of the 162 countries, than the least free. It's 6 times more. But what that equates to, so countries with greater economic freedom have substantially higher per capita incomes. But when they put this data in a spreadsheet and they hit sort, something else that is just mind-boggling happens. It's amazing. What happens is that life expectancy is over 14 years longer in countries with the most economic freedom than countries with the least. And you can see the average life expectancy in these countries here. And so this is for the top 25% of all of those countries. Now, if we have a global crisis, remember, all of those people that are unemployed are not going to pay income tax, so the government revenues are going to fall. And this is only the beginning. This is going to get worse. I mean, there's a whole lot of states that they were so overwhelmed with the unemployment filings that they couldn't process them all. So that number of 6.6 million people is actually low. It's inaccurate. It's going to, all of those people that didn't get processed will go into next week's data. So this is really going to be something. So let's just say that, that because we're going into a global depression, that are not compared to other people, other countries and societies, but just as a whole, our incomes fall, our purchasing power falls. Say we go just to this quartile, not down to where the least free is. These are socialistic societies where they've got a safety net and they're trying to take care of everybody usually, or it's a dictatorship. These countries are much more capitalistic but allow business to happen. So let's just say our income drops and we go into this quartile. The average income in the United States falls, and we've got a bad economy, which is what's going to happen from this. Well, that means our life expectancy will probably be reduced by about 5.3 years. So this is the average life expectancy for this quartile, and this is the average life expectancy for this quartile. Now, let's do some simple math. There's 330 million people in the United States, times that 5.3 years of life expectancy that will get extinguished from the lower economic activity and the higher level of poverty. So we're going to reduce the life expectancy by each one of these 330 million people by 5.3 years. It equals a collective 1,740,000,000 years of human lifetime. And then you take that figure and you divide that by the life expectancy in the United States, and that is 78.7 years of life expectancy in the United States. And what you come out with is it's the equivalent. Extinguishing this much, 5.3 years for the 330 million people in the United States is the equivalent of 22,223,634 deaths. not from coronavirus, but from the economic damage. Now, I'm not saying that some people are saying they're willing to die for this and they should just go out and keep on working. Other people are saying, no, you can't spare, you can't expect anybody to die. We've got to save everybody by killing the economy. Well, this adds up to 6.33% of the population of the United States dying is the equivalent of what we're going to cause by completely shutting down the economy the way we are. Which brings me to, there's a balance to things. In Puerto Rico, they closed the economy. It's absolutely crazy here. You can't do anything. There's no businesses open except grocery stores, pharmacies, anything medical related, and that's pretty much it. Food and medicine. They're going to do things like they allow us to travel. If you've got an even plate, you can travel like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you've got an odd plate, you can travel Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And nobody gets to travel on Sunday under fines. They're closing all the grocery stores on Sunday. So now they're going to pack all of the people they're actually creating the possibility of more infection by doing this. But I was following coronavirus back in January, and in January I started ordering things like you need eye protection.